Suho was hot stuff. The entire Muzhou internet was in disarray from all the buzz. The team that had broken the record in the Eastern Region final sheep herding competition. Suho was the farm owner and instructor. Furthermore, given that he was a younger generation Su family member and had been labeled a model youth, how could the media give up such an opportunity for a topic that would generate and capture a lot of attention? It was not just limited to Muzhou's entertainment media. The political news segment, education news segment, sheep herding segment, agriculture segment, and even the weather forecast also mentioned the matter. Especially the education segment. Now that they had found an exemplary model, naturally, they had to proclaim it. The influence sheep herding competitions had in Muzhou was something that foreigners would not understand. From being an aristocratic retard, with one leap, Suho had become a young star. The shock of the 3 words broke the record covered the entirety of Muzhou. Whenever anyone from Muzhou talked about this year's sheep herding competition, they would surely mention Dongshan Farm and thus naturally mention Suho. With the pre-competition's publicity film to lay the foundations, no one could say that Suho did not deserve it. Of course, when people praised, there would be those that criticized as well. Even if Suho is a younger member of the Su family, given his age, there is no way he had that much money to hire workers to totally sort out the farm after he bought it. What about the shepherd dogs competition training and food? Furthermore, they still had a veterinarian team. All of those do not come cheap. Are you all blind? An exemplary model. A miracle production. Can you all take a look at the end credits of the publicity film? Fang Zhao. The main person for composing and editing was Fang Zhao. He who single-handedly propped up sci-fi Wing's virtual projects department and just completed a global lecture tour. That Fang Zhao. Surely he has done something. To be able to revive sci-fi Wing's virtual projects department back from the dead, surely this is a scheme of his. Who knows, maybe the entire thing from start to end was a conspiracy. Yeah, who knows, there might be someone behind the scenes supporting. How else would a Suho who knew nothing hire Fang Zhao to compose a piece so easily, and how he could collaborate with Shanmu Farm that smoothly? And how coincidental that he would get those few shepherd dogs, especially that flying dog. However, Suho paid no heed to all the doubters online. In the past, he would have cared about how the media judged him, but now, he never even bothered to check them. Furthermore, he did not have the time to do so. After the end of competition, he kept receiving calls nonstop. He received congratulations from his classmates and other members of the Su family. His older brother had found time despite being in the middle of an experiment to give him a call. This was a very rare occurrence. After he ended the call with his brother, he received a call from 2 of his younger sisters who said they wanted to visit Dongshan Farm and take a photograph with curly hair, but the maid looking after them had disapproved, saying it was too dangerous and to wait after the buzz to die down before looking for a chance. Muzhou Central District, Qingtai Mountain. Qingtai Mountain was not the highest mountain in Muzhou. It could not even be considered high, as it looked like a mountain that had its top 2/3 shaved off. At the summit, there were a few courtyards and traditional buildings. No skyscrapers could be found there. But in Muzhou, this mountain held a special significance. The earliest Muzhou government had been located here, and Great General Su Mu of the founding era and other important leaders had stayed there. After the number of descendants had increased, the government had made new plans to shift elsewhere. Now, those living on Qingtai Mountain were the earliest descendants of those leaders. Most of them were already retired elderly. The young were not willing to coop themselves in that sort of restrictive place and be observed. On top of Qingtai Mountain, inside an old residence, a few white-haired seniors were sitting in the center. Surrounding them were a few middle-aged men and women, sitting reservedly. The room was very quiet. The younger generations that were sitting at the sides and corners wished they could find a place to sneak off to. Originally, those few elders had arranged to watch the competition together, but never had they expected to see a youngster of the Su family. To those elders with over 100 years of age, that generation of Su whose age did not leave much of a lasting impression on them. They could not even count the number of great-grandchildren they had with the fingers on both hands, let alone their great-great-grandchildren. Unless they were outstanding or good at making themselves stand out, these elders could not even match their names to their faces. However, just one round of the Eastern Region sheep herding finals was enough to make them remember Su whose name. An elder sighed. I never expected that among the youngsters of the Su family there would still be such a fellow. To be able to achieve this sort of result, he has indeed done well. Another elder exclaimed. This bunch of oldies had experienced a lot. Whether Suho had any support behind the scenes, they could guess as much without investigating. However, whether his luck was good, or whether he found anyone to help him, it was all down to Su-Ho's own ability. Of all the people he could help, why had Feng Zhao specifically chosen to help him? The Su family had many promising youngsters. Why would Feng Zhao, who had a reputation in the music industry, choose to help Su-Ho, who was often looked down upon and even called a retard? In the end, luck was but a part of one's ability. That Feng Zhao person, I heard he is a composer from Yanzhou. I heard as well. This year, when Su-Ho went to Yanzhou to pay his respects, he probably met this Feng Zhao there. The exact same name. What a coincidence. In this world, there were many people who shared the same names, and many who shared the same names as martyrs. They guessed that, during Su-Ho's time paying his respects in Yanzhou, he coincidentally met a person called Feng Zhao and hence got to know each other. We can investigate it when the time comes. However, that is all secondary. What I wish to know is who set up that scam. Originally, the elder was speaking in a warm tone, but when he reached the last part of his sentence, his tone abruptly intensified and his eyes flashed with anger, like a sword that had been unsheathed. They ignored the younger generation of Su's internal squabbles and competition. With competition came motivation. The more outstanding ones would achieve better resources. Small squabbles and fights would pass. However, they absolutely could not allow the act of defrauding a fellow family member for one's own benefit. If they wanted to compete, they had to go about it fair and square. To hurt another family member was absolutely forbidden. These were the words Great General Su Mu had left for the Su family descendants. Anyone who broke this sacred rule would be made to leave the Su family. If it was not a Su family member that had defrauded another, then all the more reason why they had to investigate. Who dared to cheat the Su family? Even if he was a retard, who were you to bully him as you please? Investigate. The resounding investigate word made the youngsters in the room shiver. It looked like certain people were going to be out of luck. Su-Ho had just ended the call with his younger sisters when he received a video call from an older female cousin in Qingqing. Su-Ho, you are gonna have it good. Ah. Su-Ho had a blank look. Hee, a few people are gonna get unlucky real soon. The girl in the projection smiled as if she took delight in the misfortune of others and proceeded to tell Su-Ho what had happened in the room on Qingtai. This was followed by another round of getting to know Su-Ho all over again. Su-Ho, you changed so much, thinner and tanned. Hey, previously in the publicity film, did you intentionally act, or was it really just an edit of your normal everyday routine? Of course it was the editing. Everything inside is completely real. Su-Ho asserted. All the footage from the film was taken by his 3 bodyguards, Shanmu Farm security cameras, and Feng Zhao's own objective recordings, as well as his own video recordings. The footage had been collated and edited into a short film, with some slight artistic touches added in. Back then, he had not even known that his 3 bodyguards were monitoring him. After he found out, he was a little pissed, but thinking it through, he was accident-prone and had a past record. The 3 bodyguards were only doing their job ensuring his safety, so Su-Ho did not blame them but instead assigned new tasks for them. I was just asking. Don't get so worked up. Was the film edited by Feng Zhao or was it completed by you? At the mention of this, Su-Ho felt a little embarrassed. Master Zhao edited it. 2 days before the submission, I passed a portion of a video to Master Zhao, who did the rest. I only did a little bit. Actually, I had edited a version of the publicity film, but when I saw Master Zhao's video, I couldn't bring myself to take it out. Master Zhao. Sounds like this person is rather good at putting on airs. Wait a minute, did you say you made your own video? Send it to me. Don't be shy, we are family. If it sucks, I won't say a word to anyone. Even if she intended to spread it, after seeing the fury of the elders on Qingtai Mountain, she would not even dare do so. Su-Ho thought for a bit and felt that letting his own Su family members see it was no big deal, so he sent that video over to her. In a short moment, his elder female cousin had sent a reply. In the future, it would be better to leave these sort of artistic matters to a proper artist. Oh, I almost forgot. How did you get to know Feng Zhao? This was what Su-Ho's cousin really wanted to know. Su-Ho spoke about the circumstances at the cemetery and how he had approached Feng Zhao for help. Su-Ho's cousin remained silent for quite a bit this time before, finally, faintly saying, seems like your 49 kowtows were not for nothing. After ending the call, Su-Ho's cousin related the story to a few other Su family members of the same generation. Some of them were wondering whether they should head over during the next Memorial Day for some kowtows. Su-Ho had gone to Yanzhou and, after some kowtows, had met a prosperous helping hand. They wondered if they would maybe become popular next year if they kowtowed before Su Mu's grave. Su-Ho also felt that the kowtows had totally been worth it. He might have been gloomy over his siblings fooling him back then, but now he realized it had been worth it. If he had not knocked his head that many times, he would not have run over to Su Mu's grave in a bout of fury to complain and would not have met Feng Zhao, and things would not have turned out this way. Over at Muzhou, Dongshan Farm had become all the rage because of the Eastern Region Finals. Suho and Shanmu Farm had all become popular. Needless to say, the competition dogs had all featured on this year's ranking charts, especially the lead dog, Curly Hair. In human competitions, there was always a most valuable player, and sheep herding competitions similarly had such an award. After the competition, there was a vote, and Curly Hair unanimously won the Most Valuable Dog award. At the same time, the sheep herding competition organizers posted the value rankings of the Eastern Region competition dogs on their homepage. Curly Hair had a value of 50 million and was worthy of its title of Most Valuable Dog. Wu Yi was even happier than Feng Zhao. 6 out of the 7 dogs in the team were from his farm. Although Bingo was worth a few million, still far off from Curly Hair, Wu Yi was already very satisfied. The added value of his 6 dogs also amounted to at least 100 million. Furthermore, this was only temporary. When the final started, their value would continue to rise, perhaps by a few times. The creases from Wu Yi's face had become deeper from all that smiling. He sighed ruefully and said, Feng Zhao said back then that this dog had wandered for who knows how long in the Black Street. When he picked it up, it was all skin and bones and could not even stand. For the people of Muzhou who love dogs, the circumstances that Feng Zhao had mentioned were unimaginable. Muzhou's laws safeguarded the interest of the people of Muzhou. Every law-abiding citizen of Muzhou would have their own plot of land other than those inherited from their parents or elders. There were charities that would give those with special circumstances plots of land or perhaps work. As long as they were not lazy and did not abandon themselves, they would be able to have a life. Dogs were different. They did not have land or jobs. However, there were no strays in Muzhou. Even if they were abandoned by their old farm owners, the new farm owners would also take care of them. Otherwise, those farm owners would be viewed by others as wicked and heartless. In other continents, people would term this as emotional blackmail, but in Muzhou, they felt that this was the right thing to do. After all, deciding to raise them, it was their responsibility. Even if they were not raised well, it was up to the farm owner's own decision. Feng Zhao has some good luck. Who would know that a stray that was picked up could achieve the unexpected status it had today? If everyone had known, what would have happened all those years in the Black Street? And since Curly Hair occupied the top ranking in the Eastern region, its life story also came into the light. What? It is not a Muzhou dog. To actually be from another continent. Screw everything else, let's not waste time and buy it over. After finding out Curly Hair was not from Muzhou, many people began to voice their thoughts. Such a good dog that was born for sheep herding. It is a pity it is from a foreign continent. Are there such great pastures in other continents? Are dogs loved as much in other continents compared to Muzhou? Therefore, this sort of dog should be taken care of by the people of Muzhou. Someone else's dog. Buy it. It is merely $50 million. To many farm owners of large farms, this is just an insignificant amount. But very quickly, they realize Curly Hair's owner was also very rich. TSK, Feng Zhao's dog. This sucks, I heard that little fellow is loaded. He was the one that meddled with Suhu's farm. Someone asked already. He is not selling. I just heard from a friend who does music. One of Feng Zhao's compositions went for a fee of 10 million, and that was some time back. After his global lecture tour, his fees will be even higher. What now? What's an artist like him doing keeping a dog? The people who had originally intended to purchase the dog were dejected. What they were most unhappy about was that the owner refused to sell and had no lack of cash. Let's wait a bit more. There is reasoning behind not selling now. After the finals, who knows how high his value will soar. When the time comes, let's discuss terms with that little fellow. Who knows, it might work. But after the finals, the price will not be what we normal people can afford. You large farm owners go ahead and compete. Us medium-sized farms will temporarily back off. But returning to the main topic, don't we have other methods to depress its value? Wager on another dog, who knows which dog might outshine this little Curly Hair at that time, and its value will not rise much. Makes sense. However, in the Eastern region, which dog can beat Curly Hair? Gold Colt. Gold Colt won't do, its sheep herding performance is still lacking. We can't find any suitable in the Eastern region. Let's see if there are any in the Western region we can wager on. Otherwise, the throne of most valuable dog in the finals might be stolen by a foreign dog. Those farm owners discussed in private how to suppress Curly Hair. However, the ignorant audiences online really liked this dog. There were no rules that prohibited foreign dogs from joining any farm's team. This was because the Muzhou people had always believed only dogs from their homeland could herd sheep and that foreign dogs were all idiots. In this sort of competition that tested their IQ, other dogs would not keep up. Until now, Curly Hair was the most well-liked dog among Muzhou audiences. Especially the scene of its horizontal leap where it flew. In the days that followed the competition, it was still trending on the internet. That scene fully explained what was meant by "I scare even myself when I go wild." Therefore on Muzhou's internet, many people liked to use flying dog to describe Curly Hair. They felt that the name Curly Hair was not formal enough and did not illustrate this lead dog's special characteristics. Thus, a lot of the time, they called him Flying Dog. The best case scenario for the people of Muzhou was if someone could buy him, but even if this was not possible, everyone was eagerly anticipating Curly Hair's performance in the finals. Over at Muzhou's side, this topic was stirred up, and even people of Yanzhou were contacted to see if they could provide a little more information. And the Yanzhou media was like a cat that had caught the scent of a fishy smell and reacted quickly. What? The most valuable dog of Muzhou's sheep herding Eastern finals is a dog from our Yanzhou. A value of 50 million. Are dogs that expensive? Oh, right, it's Muzhou. The people of Muzhou are a bunch of dog-crazy fanatics. Whatever the situation, it was time to put it on the news. Therefore, very quickly, many people in Yanzhou caught on to what was happening. Qin City District, the black street where Feng Zhao used to stay. Yu Qing was going through his normal routine, having lunch and a cup of tea, watching the news while reclining on his chair beside the door and being bathed by the warm sunlight. Muzhou sheep herding competition. What is so strange about 50 million? Muzhou people are really crazy. TSK, a $50 million dog. Ack. Cough cough. Cough cough cough. Yu Qing had choked and coughed violently till his entire body curled up. The cup had been tossed aside. With great difficulty, he slowly got up and heard Ai Wan rushing over from his drugstore. Old Yue. Old Yue. We have a big situation. What? Have you seen today's news? Are you talking about Feng Zhao's little curly hair? Yes. Ai Wan shuddered as he extended the 5 fingers on his hand. Shaken, he stammered, 50 million. That stray that wandered into our black street for who knows how long and nearly died, that little curly hair has a value of 50 million. And this is only temporary. I heard that after Muzhou's whatever competition is over it will rise even more. Old Yue, $50 million. Poor old me opened a drugstore and doubled as a doctor. Yesterday at night, I was still treating people and only made a small 10,000, and that excited me till I couldn't sleep. But compared to this dog, I suddenly feel like owning a dog. Where in our street can I find myself a stray? I shall go and pick one up, maybe I won't need to open my store anymore. With thick bags under his eyes, Ai Wan shook his head vigorously, as if imagining something wonderful, and mumbled something to himself. Yue Qing went into his shop and got an iced beverage for him. Drink some. Ai Wan guzzled 2 mouthfuls down and shivered from the ice. Awake now? Yue Qing asked. Awake. Ai Wan dragged a chair over and sat beside Yue Qing. Sighing, he said, some people have luck that we can only dream about. Furthermore, Feng Zhao, that little fellow, is really capable. How long has it been? And he is so prosperous now. 50 million, and that little fellow probably does not think much of it. Sigh, back when I shaved the fur of that little dog and it spoiled my shaver. Giving a shave to a dog worth 50 million and I shaved it all off. I could brag about this for a year. If only I had kept the dog fur from back then. Who knows, I might even have been able to sell it for quite a decent sum. Ai Wan raised his head to look at the afternoon sun shining down on the black street and was blinded momentarily. Raising his hand to shield his eyes, he said, that little fellow and us have different paths. He is still so young and can go much further in the future. After 10 years, who knows, we might still be staying here in this black street. Yue Qing rarely heard Ai Wan that rueful. It seemed like the 50 million value of little curly hair had upset him. However, why did he not continue talking? Old Yue. I'm listening. Ai Wan pointed at the sky. Drone. Yue Qing looked up. Indeed, there was a drone from high up descending. An express delivery model. Whose house upstairs was expecting an express delivery? That's not right. Why do I feel that it is going to descend all the way to the bottom? Ai Wan used his hands to block out the sun and watch the falling drone. Yue Qing also felt the same way. At this spot, right at the bottom, was his shop. Old Yue, did you buy something? Or perhaps it was your wife. Nope, my stock came in a few days back. Also, if I had purchased something, I would not use this sort of delivery method. Yue Qing watched it descend. This drone model had a faster speed and was steady when it transported. It was just that its freight fee was many times more than a normal drone. Yue Qing Express Delivery. An electronic voice blurted out from the drone. It really is mine. After verifying the identity, the drone set down a case that was 2 meters wide and 1 meter tall. When they saw the name of the sender, Yue Qing and AI-1 made eye contact, and together, they shifted the case in and closed the door of the shop. AI-1 urged Yue Qing to open it. Faster, faster, faster. Let's see what Feng Zhao has sent over. Yue Qing opened it and realized there were a few packages of vacuum-sealed meat products and some grains wrapped up. There were also some processed foodstuffs manufactured in Muzhou. Even if it was processed food, they were made from natural crops. When sold out of Muzhou, these did not come cheap either. Inside was a message from Feng Zhao, saying that he was in Muzhou now and had conveniently sent Yue Qing and AI-1 some Muzhou specialty products. Ha ha ha, that little fellow has not forgotten about us. Old Yue, Feng Zhao said, a portion here belongs to me. Temporarily keep them at your store. I have no storage facilities at my place. That's all for now. I'm heading back to attend to my store. I will be back later to have barbecued meat. Yue Qing laughed and shook his head as he watched the jubilant AI-1 run out. They were just like this, without any big ambitions. Although they would grumble, they were easily satisfied. Feng Zhao had not sent these to only Yue Qing and AI-1, who had helped him in the past. He'd also sent some to the people in the company, second Uncle Feng's family in Yanzhou, and also to his great-grandparents. Great-grandfather Feng happily went out to show off again. They were not lacking any of these. It was just that Feng Zhao's heartfelt intentions made them happy. Moreover, they had been paying attention to information online, and knowing that Feng Zhao was doing well made them glad. Previously, when Feng Zhao had gone with Shui Jing for the global lecture tour, great-grandfather Feng had flaunted to all the others at the retirement center, "My great-grandson Feng Zhao will be a great artist in the future." In the past, great-grandfather Feng had hoped his descendants would all enter the military and develop, repeatedly urging them to proactively serve, and how it would be best if they would head to more arduous places to train. After all, hardship increased stature. Now, he was a little worried. Those that were sent to far-off planets to mine for resources were too tough, and the people of the same batch might be impulsive or violent. All the more so for his great-grandson who could not raise a hand to defend himself. That little fellow was a man of art. If he really went to such a place for his military service, would he be able to survive? Thus, on the night where they received the delivery, the old couple went without sleep the entire night and discussed the best place to arrange to send their little great-grandson to serve in the military. If Feng Zhao knew what these two elders were thinking, he would have told them, "You two are overthinking things." Muzhou's eastern and western regions' normal competitions had all concluded. Before the finals, there would be a 1-month period to give each farm a chance to recover and train. Shanmu Farm. Curly Hair and the other dogs were in the field hunting field mice. Will you let someone watch over them? After the competition, they were more relaxed, and he did not restrict the dogs playing. There was a veterinarian team on standby, so nothing should happen. Today, a slightly special person had come to the farm. The person was an older male cousin of Suhu's. He was around 20 years old, and after graduating from university, he had used his cash on hand to start a company, naming it 4 Elephants Foodstuff Company. Su Feng's own farm had a mountain to one side and a river on the other, and there were 4 rocks that were the shape of an elephant, hence the name. As for why Su Feng had come, it was to discuss business, not with Suho but with Feng Zhao. Compared to the owner of Shanmu Farm, Wu Yi, Su Feng looked more like a businessman. Ambassador. Feng Zhao looked at Su Feng. Dog food. Su Feng wanted Curly Hair to endorse his company's new range of superior quality dog food. In Muzhou, the market for this was quite big. People of Muzhou were willing to spend money on dogs. The fee Su Feng offered was not low either. He gave Feng Zhao a first draft of the contract, and if Feng Zhao did not agree, it could be modified. Feng Zhao took a look. There were no issues with the contract. I need to first take a look at your products before coming to a decision. That goes without saying. Su Feng took out several cans that had already been prepared and even handed over 2 sets of appraising notes. One was from the supervising department, and the other was from the Academy of Agricultural Sciences, where Suhu's own brother had had a private assessment. I know you have your own considerations to make, and I believe that a number of companies will have approached you. However, I hope you will take the time to consider our company, Su Feng said. Actually, I have one other matter, which also concerns an ambassadorial role and is our company's main issue. Also for curly hair. No, Su Feng smiled and said, I'm looking for Polar Light. Su Feng had come up with a plan for Polar Light. He had spent the past 2 years gradually pushing his company's brand out of Muzhou. The company's main business was not dog food. Dog food was just one of the many developments that the company had, and it was only focused within Muzhou. The company's main emphasis was to sell its agricultural products to other continents. However, competition was tough, and even though he was from the Su family, there was still a limit to what he could do. Su Feng kept trying to find a way, and during the sheep herding competition, he'd taken notice of Feng Zhao, a composer from Yanzhou, and he hoped to garner the help of one of Yanzhou's 3 big entertainment companies, Sci-Fi Wing Media's Virtual Projects Department. Virtual Idol Polar Light's image is a tree, just right. Even more fitting for our concept of natural. After the end of days, development had been the first priority. With the technological levels back then, development of the industry needed unavoidable sacrifices of certain things, such as the environment. Other than Muzhou, the other 11 continents all experienced a severe stifling period, so much so that the people then wondered whether they had made the right choice and if the world would just go to ruin. Should they halt the development at hand and create spaceships to visit other planets in search of a new place to survive? After all this had boiled over, new energy sources had already surpassed the original sources. Construction was faster and technology invalidated a lot of toxic emissions. The 12 continents in the new era had really stabilized. But aside from Muzhou, the other continents did not have much suitable land for growing crops, so a lot of the materials for producing foodstuff were cultivated without soil and other different methods. After 500 years passed, Muzhou's status as one of the 4 special continents continued to exist peacefully. This was also a rule set by everybody, not to interfere with Muzhou's development. Even if there were people who wanted to transform Muzhou and the people there did not oppose, the other continents would not allow it. There were people that once said, Muzhou was the last clean soil. Hence, in this world, when it came to food, Muzhou had a special place. Families with good conditions would choose to get their food from Muzhou and were more inclined toward the so-called natural foodstuffs. Generally speaking, Muzhou's well-known companies did not need an ambassador to boost their popularity. Among the public, their influence was very hard to displace. As Su Feng's 4 Elephants company was a very young brand, when given the choice of a product of a similar type and price between 2 companies, people would definitely choose the more familiar brand. Su Feng had sought out celebrities in other continents to endorse his products, and there had been results. They just were not as good as he had expected. Many other companies also looked for celebrities to endorse their products as well. Su Feng had decided to try it out at Yanzhou, but this time, instead of finding a real-life celebrity, he chose to find a virtual idol whose image was close to natural, Polar Light. And it just so happened that Polar Light was popular at the moment. Polar Light. Hearing Su Feng, Feng Zhao understood what he meant. It is indeed a good opinion, however. Feng Zhao looked Su Feng in the eye and said seriously, the endorsement fees for Polar Light won't be cheap. Su Feng laughed as if he had just heard a joke. Don't worry, even though our company just started out, when it comes funding, paying for an endorsement ambassador is not a problem. Su Feng thought to himself that Feng Zhao did not understand the market for endorsements. Polar Light was indeed on the uprise in Yanzhou and was quite popular, but he still could not really compare with those really big-name superstars whose endorsement fees could be considered to be sky-high. Polar Lights would only cost a few millions. As he was about to explain to Feng Zhao received a notification on his communications device. Sorry, I need a moment. Feng Zhao walked out of the room to answer the call. Su Feng indicated he understood and sat in the room, thinking about whether or not he should explain to Feng Zhao about the market for endorsements. Outside, Feng Zhao had received a voice call from Duan Qianji. Feng Zhao, are you still in Muzhou? Duan Qianji's tone sounded like she was in a good mood. Something good must have happened. I still have some matters over here, Feng Zhao replied. If the matters are not important, leave it first and return to the company for a bit to sign a contract with Fiery Bird. They have selected Polar Light to be the spokesperson for Battle of the Century. Duan Qianji could not help laughing as she spoke. After waiting for so long, they'd finally gotten the result they wanted. Apparently it seems like you are not surprised. Duan Qianji's acute senses could guess as much. Although there was no video projection, she could sense that Feng Zhao did not have much of a reaction. This was one of the reasons many employees in Sci-Fi Wing feared Duan Qianji. Even without using her eyes, she could tell what one was up to and whether they were lying. Early in the morning, Wali had sent me a message that just said congratulations. Looking at the timing, I guess that it probably had to do with the endorsement deal, Feng Zhao replied. As Hua Li was the head of Fiery Bird's sound effects department, he would have received the news earlier. Duen Qianji understood this and did not ask any more, instead urging once more, so you need to hurry back. As the person in charge of the virtual projects department, the contract has to be signed personally by you. Wait a bit, I still have a matter here. Feng Zhao then told her the situation regarding Su Feng and Polar Light's endorsement. Got it. Go and pack your stuff and prepare to leave. I will arrange for someone to discuss terms with Su Feng. Curly Hair's endorsement deal could be decided by Feng Zhao, as curly hair was his personal property. However, for Polar Light's deal, it had to go through Sci-Leveler Wing's personnel, as Polar Light was a company asset. Su Feng had never expected to be able to discuss with Duen Qianji directly. At first, he was calmly discussing, but once Duen Qianji informed him of the price, Su Feng nearly dropped his communications device. Su Feng was shocked by the figure. 100 million. And only for 1 year. Boss Duen, since when did Yan Zhao's endorsement fee get raised that much? Many A-lister celebrities' fees for this sort of endorsement deal could be signed for less than 50 million for 2 years, and there were many choices. At present, Miyu, who was termed as Yan Zhao's #1 virtual idol, had an endorsement fee of about 150 million, but that was for 2 years. Andy Liu, who had a similar reputation, garnered a fee of 120 million for 2 years as well. To think that Sci-Leveler Wing's virtual idol, who had only risen to prominence less than a year ago and was not as popular as Miyu and Andy Liu, would demand a fee of 100 million for 1 year. Did they think that Muzhou people had no brains? Duen Qianji took no offense to Su Feng's tone and just told him the matter of Fiery Bird coming to the decision of having Polar Light endorse Battle of the Century. Su Feng was fuming. He obviously knew what this meant. Stifling back his words for a bit, he then said, even if he was chosen by Fiery Bird, your price is too high. Su Ho had gone out for a run, and when he returned, he saw his cousin standing there, his face distorting non-stop as if he was discussing something of great importance. When Su Feng looked up and saw that Su Ho had returned, he took a deep breath, got up, and left. The next day, Four Elephants and Sci-Leveler Wing's Polar Light came to an official decision for cooperation. Su Feng had not only taken into account Polar Light's appearance and his influence in Yanzhou, he'd also taken into consideration Feng Zhao, who was the person standing behind Polar Light. Su Feng believed that, as long as Feng Zhao was there, Polar Light would only continue to rise. When he thought about what he understood from Feng Zhao's information, all Su Feng could think about was how frightening Feng Zhao was. In just a little more than a year, he had risen from being an obscure intern to a reputable hotshot in the music circles. He had completed a global lecture tour, supported Sci-Leveler Wing's entire virtual projects department, and even attracted the colossal Fiery Bird's attention. He had even made his dog's value soar to 50 million. Could this be a flash in the pan? Su Feng was not one to concede or listen to what others said. Instead, he believed that, in the near future, this young person would become even hotter. Although he could not guess how, that was what his intuition told him. Su Feng knew he was taking a risk. If the market proved that he was wrong, he would be ridiculed by those in the industry. This he did not mind, but what he cared about was the few Su elders living on Qingtai Mountain. He had wanted to earn more benefits and resources from the elders after producing results and showing them. However, if he failed, he did not even need to think about it. As Su Feng and the person Duen Qianji had sent were discussing the concrete details of the contract, Feng Zhao had already boarded the flying transport headed back to Yanzhou. Curly Hair stayed behind in Muzhou once more, continuing to train with the other shepherd dogs as they prepared for the finals. Once more returning to Yanzhou, the moment Feng Zhao stepped into the department, all eyes were on him. Boss. You're back. After Zhu Wen and the others had finished shouting, they looked behind Feng Zhao, then beside his leg, finding nothing. Curly Hair did not come back. He is staying in Muzhou to train. He still has to train for the finals, Feng Zhao said. Zhu Wen and the others gathered around Feng Zhao and asked him about the happenings over in Muzhou and inquired as to Feng Zhao's thoughts on having a dog with a $50 million value that would continue to rise. When they had seen the news, the entire virtual projects department had been full of shrieks and had scared Duang, who, when he to visit the 50th floor, had thought an accident had happened. Back then, before he left, Feng Zhao had said that he was heading out to expand his professional services, but who knew that it would really happen? The department members had already received news of the endorsement collaboration with Muzhou's side. As for the concrete details, it would be arranged before they were informed. As they thought about Polar Light's endorsement fee, and then Curly Hair's value, Zhu Wen and the others could not help but think that this department was becoming rich and powerful. TSK, boss, when you were abroad, you could still stir up the news. Zhu Wen shook his head and sighed ruefully. Mazao is really a crazy place. Oh, right, can we go over and watch Curly Hair's final live? We shall see the situation when the time comes. If there are no assignments at the company, we can organize a trip to Mazao, Feng Zhao replied. On company expenses? Zhu Wen asked. If the company does not approve, I will sponsor it myself. Feng Zhao's answer drew cheers from everyone in the department. But for now, we have to prepare for the signing ceremony with Fiery Bird. Yes. The next day, Feng Zhao brought a few key members of the virtual projects team over to Fiery Bird's Yanzhou branch. There, a signing ceremony would be held. Many people had not expected that, in the end, Fiery Bird would pick Polar Light, who had only appeared less than a year ago, as Yanzhou spokesperson. Even though Polar Light had only come in third place in the online popularity poll, it had not affected Fiery Bird's final decision. Photos and videos of the signing ceremony were spread quickly. Fiery Bird's choice of Polar Light as the spokesperson of Battle of the Century spread widely across Yanzhou's gaming circles. 5 days later, Fiery Bird had a public post on its website. It was a picture of Tulevel warriors. On it were the virtual idols that were the Tulevel representatives of the respective Tulevel continents. Polar Light was the only non-human virtual idol, and his image on that picture was from his 100-year period of destruction music video, where his branches were muscled and he took on a human-like form for battle. On October 1st, Battle of the Century will be officially released. For any virtual idol, receiving Fiery Bird's endorsement deal was like winning the lottery, with the prize being a rising popularity. Fiery Bird were not lacking customers. Finding a spokesperson was equivalent to finding a cooperative partner in Yanzhou. Promotion was a cooperative effort by Cy Leveler Wing and Fiery Bird. Once Fiery Bird's massive campaign started, it would be everywhere. Throwing money. Ruthlessly throwing money. In Ken City Center, on many high-rise buildings, screens in public squares, huge entertainment centers, and public transportation, Battle of the Century advertisements could be seen. It was still some way off from October. However, for a company that only produced a game every 10 years, many people felt that their advertisements had started late. Although what attracted the interests of gaming fans was the publicly released short film, all the people that normally did not follow the film and entertainment industry more or less remembered the virtual idol Polar Light. The frenzy was in full swing the whole of May 10 years after 10 years. The money that gaming fans had saved up for a long time was used to make pre-orders of the latest models of gaming hardware to upgrade their rigs. Those that were richer would just get themselves a brand new gaming setup and were only waiting for October 1st for the game's release. In a high-rise apartment complex in Ken City, Big Dipper, a gaming team well known within Ken City, were very busy. Captain, we are running out of water. Me too. Everything is running out. Got it. I will get someone to go get more. Just eat whatever there is or order some takeout. Hey, Captain. Let's change brands this time. Buy 4 elephants this time. All the stuff from Mazao is the same. Was the previous brand no good? An old brand is always reassuring. But I heard from my younger cousin, they tried 4 elephants today and it was not bad. Furthermore, it's endorsed by Polar Light. Endorsed by Polar Light. Let me see. Alright, let's try this brand. At a public squad, a teenager stood in front of a vending machine, thirsty from playing. As he scanned through all the different types of mineral water inside and decided on a brand he drank once before, he caught sight of a Battle of the Century advertisement on a billboard in the distance. The teenager looked at the image, then looked at the printed tree man on a certain bottle and made his choice. Although online shopping was very efficient and popular nowadays, in large cities there would still be shopping centers. These sorts of ancient shopping centers still existed to provide those sentimentalists with a place to feel nostalgia and antiquity. Gaming sections were always packed recently. Youngsters could always be seen coming and going. At the same time, 4 Elephants products were all the rage too. Endorsing a game and endorsing foodstuff, Polar Light was the only one doing it. In schools, many secondary school students were more inclined to pick the 4 Elephant drinks that had Polar Light on them. Other products might be too expensive for their allowance to afford, but drinks were still fine. In Mazao, Su Feng listened to a report from his subordinate regarding the sales volume of every continent in the last 7 days. Huangzhou slowed down in sales. Lizhou, sales remain largely unchanged. Lazhou, sales remain largely unchanged. Yanzhou, 500% increase in sales volume. Hearing this, Su Feng was so surprised he nearly fell out of his chair. The result is that obvious. Su Feng got someone to hand over the detailed information, and he proceeded to carefully investigate it, checking whether there was any manipulation or if the market had really started to incline toward them. After he had done so, Su Feng had only one thought. That 100 million was well spent. This gamble really paid out. Su Feng felt himself shaking from excitement when he spoke. Is there enough stock over at Yanzhou? As there was a surplus previously, there aren't many places that are lacking. We have already hastened our deliveries over there. Boss, Wangzhou's side has suddenly increased their order, another person abruptly said. What? Why did this happen? Su Feng had not gotten a new spokesperson for Huangzhou. His farm's products were wrapped in the same packaging that had Polar Light's image. He did not have much hope that many people in Huangzhou would recognize Polar Light. All he wanted was to imply the products were natural. As Fiery Bird was based in Huangzhou and their company had used Polar Light for advertising, there would be some effects, but it would not be that effective. Now that Huangzhou had requested to increase their order, Su Feng was puzzled. He contacted his people in Huangzhou to get to the bottom of the matter. It turned out that, in Huangzhou, the boss of a large shopping center was a gaming enthusiast and had pasted 12 advertisements on the exterior of the building. Every advertisement was of a product. Normally, such an advertisement would require that the brands pay additional fees, and sometimes, if there were others competing for the spot, the prices would be high. This time, the gaming enthusiast boss had willfully placed 12 advertisements on the exterior, each one being endorsed by a celebrity. There was endorsed foodstuff, endorsed clothing, endorsed kitchen equipment, and others including exercise equipment. And these 12 celebrities endorsing these 12 products were none other than the virtual idols in Fiery Bird's promotional image. And what was different from the hot-blooded styles of the promotional image of Battle of the Century were the styles of these advertisements. Some of them were elegant, some charming, some witty, and Polar Light had a fresh and clean style. Compared with the promotional image of Battle of the Century, many people thought it was rather meaningful. Compared to their intense looks, the boss of the shopping center took delight in it. Occasionally there would be utterances of "Whoa, isn't this the tree man endorsing Battle of the Century?" heard from the people visiting the shopping center. Among the 12 virtual idols, the tree was the one that left the deepest impression for gamers. 4 elephants left an impression among customers who visited the shopping center. Even if they had not known of this brand before, since the others were all big brands that could be trusted, 4 elephants would not be any shoddy brand either, and it was from Muzhou. As for Polar Light being the only non-human spokesperson endorsing Battle of the Century, in addition to Yanzhou and Huangzhou, the other continents gradually showed signs of its influence. At the same time, many people also inquired with Fiery Bird's relevant department on why they had chosen Polar Light to be Yanzhou's representative when it was not even a human virtual idol and had so few works and insufficient popularity. Fiery Bird's reply was just this: he is worth it. At Fiery Bird's headquarters, the engineers and the technical department were yawning. They had continuously worked overtime for quite a number of days in a row. People outside are discussing why we chose Polar Light as Yanzhou's game representative. Who we choose is none of their damn business. Why choose Polar Light? Probably, it was because they had poured so many deep sentiments into producing Battle of the Century. When they saw the 100-year period of destruction music video, they'd felt that the world in which this tree existed was the same world they had created in the game and that it was no longer a game but reality. Therefore, during the discussions for the spokespersons, there were disputes for the other continents, but when it came to Yanzhou, it was an almost unanimous vote in favor of Polar Light. From their point of view, he was the most suitable candidate and most worthy of the chance. Who is the head of the Polar Light team? I thought someone mentioned it before. Feng Zhao, he is a composer. 100-year period of destruction was created by him. Previously, the sound effects had Huali mentioned they had used Feng Zhao's composition. However, for the fee, he was given 2 choices, cash or a gaming console. Feng Zhao chose the console. Whoa, that fellow has good taste. There are only 100 sets that'll be released in the entire world. However, for someone that dabbles in the arts, he probably will not get used to it and will probably resell it. What a pity. Yeah, a pity. However, whatever his choice, once it is sent out, we don't have to bother about their decision. Speaking of which, I rather like that little fellow's works. Oh, right, the opening scene's background music was composed by that fellow. The one we listened to that time. Where you get goosebumps just listening to it. Yep. Huh. That was really impressive. What was the title of that background music? Huali said that the piece is called Immortal. Feng Zhao did not know that he was being talked about by the few engineers of Fiery Bird. At that moment, he was standing in the 50th floor office, gazing out the window. In the distance, an image of Polar Light appeared every 5 minutes in the middle of a bunch of skyscrapers. Recently, Polar Light's figure was everywhere in Yanzhou. billboards, holographic projections above buildings, posters, etc. Other than Cy Leveler Wing and Fiery Bird's cooperative marketing campaign, there was Su Feng's Four Elephants' advertisements as well. It seemed that Polar Light's popularity had exploded spectacularly overnight. At one of the press conferences for the movie that Cy Leveler Wing had invested in, which starred Polar Light, when the media were inquiring about Polar Light's endorsements, an announcer accidentally revealed that Polar Light's Four Elephants' endorsement fee was 100 million for a year. Toward this, many people's first reaction was disbelief. Sensationalization. Definitely sensationalization. If the fee was from Fiery Bird, it would still have been believable, but that another company, especially one that was not considered famous, would actually pay out such a high fee. How could anyone be convinced? Merely considering endorsement fees, that would make Polar Light the #1 virtual idol in Yanzhou. Even if he did not have sufficient works or enough detailed information, his fans also could not compare to the other two popular virtual idols. But who let Polar Light have such good luck? Who had let the people behind Polar Light be so capable? When the word got out, it was a topic that was discussed furiously. Four Elephants had really spent so much just for Polar Light to endorse them. Dumb SS. Four Elephants' Yanzhou in charge immediately shot back, "Sorry to be a bother, but I am that dumb SS you were speaking about." There were also many people that admired the way Four Elephants had grabbed the chance at the opportune moment. Freeloading on the hype over Battle of the Century was surely pleasant. And counting the number of eyes across the world that would be on Battle of the Century despite it being some ways off, people were starting to understand. Because of Cy Leveler Wings and Fiery Bird's joint promotional campaign, now anybody from Yanzhou who went online or headed out would get to see Polar Light's image. This was also the reason for Four Elephants' steep increase in sales volume. Also, Four Elephants had also gone from being a certain Muzhou brand to a well-known brand. Feng Zhao did not understand much about the market and sales, but just from everyday sights and sounds, he could understand that sort of change. Recently, the members of the Virtual Projects Department walked more proudly. When they went out, they would receive looks of envy or congratulatory words. 100 million for an endorsement deal, 10 of these would be a billion. 20 of these would be 2 billion. Zhu Wen counted and counted but felt himself getting even more confused. Are we going to be rich? They would not get that much, but over time fees and bonuses would increase, right? We have been rich for some time already. Song Miao rolled her eyes. Haven't you checked your bank account? Nope. Zhu Wen changed his position on the department's couch and checked the funds in his account. SSSS. After the violent sucking in of air, Zhu Wen held his head with his two hands as if he could not believe what he was seeing. This. Their wages were considered quite high within the company already. There was still the overtime pay and, more importantly, the bonuses. Seeing the zeros at the back, Zhu Wen once again felt that his decision back then to be lazy and stay at the virtual projects departments was the right choice. This is all thanks to boss's great leadership. There could be no expense spared when it came to bootlicking. Without Feng Zhao's approval, how would they be able to get so much overtime pay and such great bonuses? If it were somebody else, one who liked to deduct staff wages as their superior, they would not receive such good treatment. To this, the other members in the department nodded their heads in agreement. Ever since Feng Zhao had come to Cy Leveler Wing's Virtual Projects Department, it had only been on the uprise. Whatever would happen in the future, nobody knew yet. However, they all knew that, as long as they followed Feng Zhao, their prospects would be boundless. Just a trip to Muzhou for a bit and he'd pulled a 100 million endorsement deal. Even the dog could become so valuable. Speaking of Muzhou. Boss, when can we go to Muzhou to watch the finals? Zhu Wen asked. This was his second time mentioning it since Feng Zhao had returned. The other department members looked at Feng Zhao with anticipation. When the marketing was its peak, they had all worked overtime to clear the tasks assigned. Now that the workload was not that heavy, the workload could be shared by other departments, and they could afford to relax a little. I will speak to the boss. Today, some new tasks have been assigned, you guys can settle the matters at hand first. Feng Zhao tidied up some of his things. After work, I leave it up to you guys to arrange. Got it. Although that was the reply they gave, no one left. Working hours and after work had little difference to them. Now all they wanted was to clear all the work so that they could enjoy without any worries. After leaving the company, Feng Zhao paid a visit to Shui Jing at his residence. Shui Jing was already back in Yanzhou for a rest. Previously, as Feng Zad had matters at Muzhou and Shui Jing still had a number of meetings to attend, they had parted rather hurriedly. This time, when he came back, Feng Zhao still ought to thank this old man. After all, it was Shui Jing that had given him such a chance and spared no effort to help him. As Feng Zhao's driver cum bodyguard, Zuo Yu naturally accompanied him. Shui Jing was very happy to see Feng Zhao. I was just talking about you and now you are here. Have you eaten dinner? I ate already. Youngsters have great appetites. Come, accompany this old man for some food. Shui Jing called him over. Feng Zhao was astonished when he realized that Shui Jing had another guest. It was the Fiery Bird sound effects department head Hua Li, who had previously contacted him. Shui Jing can also be considered my teacher, and we have always kept in touch. Today, I visited Yanzhou to meet a few old friends and, at the same time, visit old Shui. Never did I expect to run into you, Hua Li said. Shui Jing was very happy today and was especially talkative, probably from drinking some wine. His assistant had stopped Shui Jing from drinking too much, but this amount was enough to raise his spirits. I never expected that, at my age, to accept the heavy task of writing a textbook that no one wanted to touch would instigate a new wave of studying frenzy. I heard that many academies have added related courses to their curriculum. Yesterday, I also received a message from a few of my former students saying that their chance had come again. Shui Jing spoke enthusiastically and Feng Zhao and Hua Li listened from the side, occasionally nodding in agreement. However, as Shui Jing was rather old, even if was especially spirited, after talking for some time, he got quickly tired and fell asleep. Feng Zhao and Hua Li helped the assistant shift Shui Jing into his room and then helped tidy up the house before leaving. As Hua Li had come from Huangzhou and did not drive his own flying transport or bring anyone along, Feng Zhao got Zuo Yu to drive the car and send Hua Li to the hotel he was residing at. When they were close to the hotel, Hua Li asked, "Are you busy? How about a drink?" Guessing that Hua Li probably had other matters to discuss that were not convenient in Shui Jing's presence, Feng Zhao agreed. Hua Li chose a restaurant close by the hotel where he knew the owner. Zuo Yu took the initiative and found a chair outside to sit in. He did not go inside to listen. Back at old Xu's place, there was something I did not say. Hua Li looked serious. Feng Zhao, have you thought about your own future? Hua Li's sudden question surprised Feng Zhao a little. What do you mean by that? Do you intend to keep staying at Sci-Fi Wing? To speak the truth, back at old Xu's place, that old man told me he wishes that you could focus all your efforts on music and not have to manage the trivial matters of Sci-Fi Wing's virtual projects department. However, Hua Li's tone changed. I, on the other hand, hope that you get yourself in more stuff and experience more. That way you would have inspiration and create even better works. Feng Zhao twirled the cup in his hands but did not say anything, waiting for what was to follow. Hua Li swept his gaze across Feng Zhao. This young fellow was still the same as before. He could not see if his words had received any reaction from him. Hua Li paused for a bit before continuing. If you feel your limitations are too high, when you have idle time, you can visit Huangzhou Music Academy. The advanced courses there are better than at Qin Academy of Music. There is a lot that can be learned there, and many symphonic enthusiasts all over the world are there. You can overcome any weakness and get to know others. It would be beneficial for your future, too. Advanced studies. From Feng Zhao's memory, he knew that Huangzhou Music Academy did have an advanced course for the Global Music Association. Many great masters in the music world had previously gone there for advanced studies. That was a gold-plated process and he would get to know many people from the industry and widen his network. The people who could go there were top talents from all around the world. Given your current works, plus Ming Kang and old Xu's combined recommendations, you can surely get into the Youth Advanced course, Hua Li told him. Have you been there too? Feng Zhao asked. Yes, I have. The company recommended me. I am not the creator type, my strength lies in my hearing capabilities. I was recruited into Fiery Bird early on and arranged to attend advanced studies. After returning, I took less than 2 years to become a deputy department head, and after that, I got promoted to where I am now. Hua Li had not composed in a long time. During my advanced studies, I was in the same batch as Ming Kang, but because of the situation with his son, he put his career on hold for more than 10 years. Of course, this is only a suggestion I am giving you as an industry senior. If you don't wish to, there is no problem. Even if you want to change professions later on, that is fine too. I know a lot of people from the music industry who switched over to film and television because it is easier to become popular in film and there's more money there. The memory of the internet can be very long enough that it will remember us when we die, or it can be very short. A person popular throughout the world can find himself tucked away at the back of people's memories in the next moment. Especially so for you creator types who work behind the scenes are more forgettable. I had a classmate who followed the path his company set out for him. He single-mindedly devoted himself to composing, and after making a name for himself, left the company and went solo. Later on, as he was not satisfied with his fame but found his body conditioning to be good, he switched over to the film industry and became a film star. Surprisingly, he did very well, acting and singing, but not everyone can take the same path he did. His talent for acting was not inferior to his composing skills. As he spoke, Hua Li looked at Feng Zhao and shook his head. But you won't do. You and me are similar. You don't look too bad, but you just don't have enough of that X factor. Feng Zhao, stay silent. Besides, you are not suitable for the film industry. Looking at how you are normally, you are too cold and your mood rarely changes. Your expressions are not intense enough. If you were to compete with others in the industry, you would be crushed. In terms of acting talent, you might not even be able to beat me. Feng Zhao, silent. Hua Li laughed and continued, actually I said so much because somebody asked me to help pass a message. As Hua Li said that, he took out a stack of about 10 name cards and spread them out in a circle in front of Feng Zhao. Helping a few friends and classmates bring these over. They say that, if you ever feel like leaving Sci-Fi Wing or Yanzhou, you can consider them. All these are their own companies or private studios, which are rather reputable. Music, especially for movies and large-scale game productions. With more money, there will be more freedom too. Thus, today, the reason why Hua Li had sought out Feng Zhao alone was to help others lay down their cards. Before leaving, on his part as an industry senior, Hua Li told Feng Zhao seriously, you might not know this, but in Huangzhou, there are a number of 10-plus-year-olds who are also preparing for their own global lecture tours. They were born into influential families of musicians and have been attending the best music schools. Their talent is astonishing, and they have achieved a number of industry awards. Those old folks up there seem to think highly of them. There is a 7-year-old fellow in Yazhou who is conducting an orchestra. Just yesterday, they had a public performance. In the new era, the paths in the music industry are not that many. Competition is tough, and every year, many talents appear. Although all these companies might be treating you well because of polar light and many others are scrambling to rope you in, if a day comes when your inspiration dries up and your works are no longer breathtaking or you find yourself in a situation where your talent is restricted, you will be surpassed by the younger generations and will no longer be treated the same way. There are many cases of young talents who have miserable ends. From my point of view, I really hope that you will do more things that interest you. The world is huge. Experience it more, enjoy some fresh adventures. Although I no longer compose, I do know a little. This thing called inspiration often pays a visit when one's spirits are lively. Do not be restricted by music and do not loathe it. After finishing his talk, Hua Li looked at Feng Zhao, noticed him seriously thinking about something, and asked, so, do you have anything you want to ask? When will the gaming console be delivered? Hua Li, speechless, talking to this sort of junior made his heart weary. Did this fellow not worry at all that those little kids would surpass him? This year's 9th Generation Challenger and 10th Generation Rhapsody will be released simultaneously. However, the 10th Generation is a limited edition. There are only 100 sets in the entire world, and yours is one of them. When the time comes when you no longer use it, you can sell it. Wait for the price to rise before selling. The 10th Generation Rhapsody is slightly special. Your type might not get used to it. Keeping it could be a waste. Hua Li left after leaving this message. He still seemed a little gloomy, probably because he had never expected Feng Zhao to be different from the other younger generations in the industry. Feng Zhao was grateful for everything Hua Li had said, and he knew Hua Li's intentions. Hua Li had spoken so much to tell him that, firstly, he should not get too caught up with all the false reputation. Now, most of the fame lay with Polar Light, which was the result of Sci-Fi Wing and Fiery Bird's collaboration that made Polar Light's popularity explode. Thus, the main reason was not Feng Zhao, and Hua Li wanted Feng Zhao to remain calm and not let it all get to his head. Secondly, when considering his future path, he could not forget his true intentions. However, Hua Li was thinking too much. Feng Zhao was very much clear-headed. After all, he was not really only in his 20s. His mental age was much older than both Hua Li and Ming Kang. Leaving the restaurant, Feng Zhao paused for a moment and looked in a certain direction. Boss, there seems to be somebody watching this area, but not that close. Zuo Yu had discovered this earlier, but the other person was some distance away and Zuo Yu had to stay here, since Feng Zhao's safety was his #1 priority. Doesn't matter, it's not important. Let's head back. Yes. However, as for Feng Zhao actually realizing he was being photographed and even finding the direction of the perpetrator, how was he able to sense it? Unless public figures had outstanding intuition and acute senses. Zuo Yu had heard from a few friends who'd become bodyguards after leaving the military that some big celebrities were just like this. When they could sense the direction they were being photographed from, they would pretend not to know and would display their best poses. At night, a few articles appeared online. Polar Light Project producer Feng Zhao on a date with a mysterious person. Mysterious person's identity found, shocking. Recently, virtual idol Polar Light had a strong presence, and when the public paid attention to this virtual idol, they would also have an interest in the team behind it. Therefore, when people saw the words Polar Light Project producer, they became curious. This was the lead character of the project. It could even be said that Polar Light had been created by him. Thus, people naturally paid attention. The group of people that did not sleep and stayed up all night rushed in with a raging passion to check out all the gossip but, after seeing the details, could only cough blood from anger. Your father was still wondering which female he would be dating, but instead I realized I got tricked when I went in. But very quickly, others started to discuss why Feng Zhao would be having a meal with Fiery Bird's Hua Li. Could it be that Fiery Bird wanted to poach Feng Zhao? Recently, there had been a lot of rumors that some music studios and entertainment companies had shown an interest in Feng Zhao and wanted to poach him, but there had been no concrete developments. But now, having suddenly gotten a photograph of Feng Zhao together with a Fiery Bird staffer and remembering Hua Li's raving evaluations of Feng Zhao, this was surely an attempt to entice him over. Soon, a number of Feng Zhao on the verge of defecting news articles started to circulate. The next day, when Duan Qianji saw the news on Feng Zhao on the verge of defecting, her face turned green and she was so angry she nearly broke her communications device. RIP. Duan Qianji's assistant consoled her. Boss, all these small media groups love to make blind guesses out of these sorts of things and attract the attention of the public. Do not mind them. Duan Qianji did not utter a single word. Although Feng Zhao was contracted to Sci-Leveler Wing for quite a number of years, if Feng Zhao really wanted to break the contract, it was not like he could not pay the compensation fee. And if Fiery Bird really wanted to poach Feng Zhao, that little amount of compensation fee was nothing for them. Duan Qianji could not be blamed for doubting. Now that Sci-Leveler Wing finally had a virtual idol that was successful, all the more it could not afford to have a setback. Right now, Feng Zhao was the pillar that was holding up the entire virtual projects department. If the pillar was removed, Duan Qianji believed that the virtual projects department would return back to its old form. Even if she recruited a few professional great masters, she had no confidence that they could create a second Polar Light. The conditions had been right at that time to create a Polar Light that was ever present in the whole of Yanzhou. Who knew if they would have the same luck and capabilities the next time? Furthermore, the workers in the virtual projects department only submitted to Feng Zhao. If Feng Zhao left, they would leave too. The moment Feng Zhao was poached, the other key members of the team would probably be poached too, as if the heart of the virtual projects department had been dug out. The staff were secondary, the main issue was Feng Zhao. Unless a replacement of a sufficient standard could be found to replace Feng Zhao, Duan Qianji could not see herself letting him go. Other companies did not cause her much worry, but Fiery Bird. This was a company that many would try anything to get into. Feng Zhao would surely have that sort of thinking. Furthermore, after joining Fiery Bird, as long as one was not lazy and one had the ability, one would not have to worry for the rest of one's life. Furthermore, Feng Zhao indeed frequently communicated with the people of Fiery Bird. Could it that their suspicions were correct and Feng Zhao did have thoughts about defecting? Duan Qianji felt like she could easily see through youngsters of that age, but Feng Zhao was a special exception. Up till now, she could not understand the type of person he was. Duan Qianji had a solemn expression on her face as she drummed her fingers on the table. At this moment, her secretary received a message. With a hesitant expression, she said, "Boss, Feng Zhao asked if you are in. He has some matters to discuss." Duan Qianji's fingers trembled. She remained silent for 2 seconds before saying, "Let him in." As Feng Zhao walked in, he realized the atmosphere in Duan Qianji's office was abnormal. Not just Duan Qianji, even her assistants and secretary were examining him as if they were guessing what was up. Upon seeing Feng Zhao, a faint smile appeared on her face and she warmly asked, "What is it again?" "Application to have a vacation abroad." "Another trip? How long have you been back for?" "Recently, your department does not have that many assignments. Mostly everything is handled by the public relations and marketing teams. If you really are unable to concentrate on your work, you can do so at home. If you lack the inspiration, going out for a bit is not out of the question." Duan Qianji could be considered to be talking slowly already. "I am not applying for a personal vacation. I am applying for the entire department." "Vacation for how long?" What are you all going to do? A week. I have checked the arrangements with the other departments already. Our department has no pressing tasks. I would like to bring them over to Muzhou to watch the sheep herding competition. The lump in her throat seemingly dissipated. Checking on the most recent arrangements, she said, "Let me check first before getting back to you." "Sure, I will send you a detailed electronic application in a bit." Duan Qianji nodded her head and watched Feng Zhao. Trying to spot if there would be any changes in his expression, she asked, "Yesterday, you met with Fiery Bird Sound Effects Department head Hua Li. A lot of people are suggesting that you are going to get poached by them." She did not beat around the bush. "Last night, when I went to meet Old Shui, Hua Li was there, and after that, he asked me out for a few drinks." Feng Zhao knew what Duan Qianji was worrying about. "Don't worry, as long as I am under contract to Sci-Leveler Wing, I won't leave." Having received Feng Zhao's resolute reply, Duan Qianji let out a thorough sigh of relief in her heart. When she received the application from Feng Zhao, she delightedly approved it and even asked Feng Zhao whether he needed an additional flying transport. Just as Duan Qianji had said before, for her prized talent, she was willing to give him what he wanted. One flying transport was more than enough. The department's core members were not that many. They could fit in one transport, so Feng Zhao did not request the additional transport. In the afternoon, before knocking off, Feng Zhao arranged a meeting with the members of the department. He inquired about the progress on their work and whether the assigned tasks had been completed. After confirming that everything was done, he told them the matter about heading to Muzhou for the competition. The members of the Virtual Projects department went crazy. After Feng Zhao had left, it was rare for the entire department to leave the office. Without even playing their games, they all returned home to pack their luggage. The technicians within the company had a group chat. Recently, Zhu Wen and the others had been in the limelight. Who knew that the Virtual Projects department would have a reversal in fortunes? Back then, many would have rather died than be transferred there. Now, even if they wanted to enter, it was impossible, and that all had happened within a year. Zhu Wen sent a message in the technicians group chat. "Our department's boss is going to bring us to fly. Goodbye, everyone, don't miss me too much. Here I come, Muzhou's blue sky and huge fields." The originally quiet and peaceful group chat exploded to life. Scram. "Your father is still working overtime. How cheap. Your father is still working overtime, and my overtime is not even a third of what you guys in the Virtual Projects department get. Not seeing you off. Zhu Wen, are you all going to Muzhou to watch the sheep herding competition? I am not going to scold you, Zhu Wen, as long as you bring back some specialty goodies from Muzhou. Zhu Wen, your department had better take care of that golden dog. Don't let it be stolen. I haven't seen it for myself yet, so make sure you bring it back safely so I can go over and touch it." The news of Curly Hair's 50 million value had already been spread across most departments, so many Sci-Leveler Wing employees had coined Curly Hair Golden Dog. Although its hair was not golden color, that nickname was to show its value. Zhu Wen teased the rest of the group a little and felt more spirited. Having grown up, he had only ever been to Muzhou once, during a trip organized by his secondary school. However, back then, there had been too many restrictions, and he'd never been able to see a sheep herding competition. All he'd done was breathe a little of the Muzhou air before having to return. After another 2 days, the core members of the Virtual Projects department gathered and headed for Muzhou. Muzhou's sheep herding finals was a grand occasion that occurred once a year and would attract many people from other continents to come over and watch. Feng Zhao first brought the entire department over to Shanmu Farm. Then, on the day of the competition, together with Wu Yi and Su Ho, they arrived at the competition venue situated at Qingqing City. The parking area was still a distance away from the competition grounds. By the time they arrived, they realized many others had already arrived before them and half the flying transports packed there had foreign serial numbers. Today, there are many foreigners. Stay vigilant, Wu Yi said. As there were a lot more people today, the place was much more confusing. Security had also been raised by several levels. As they left the parking area, Feng Zhao noticed a number of police officers with similarly attired police dogs on a leash guarding the entrance of the parking grounds. These people were probably meticulously selected, and their hawk-like eyes scanned every person that came to the parking grounds, searching for anything suspicious. The police dogs that were beside them had their tongues out and were panting from the heat. They did not look like much, but their pair of dog eyes were observing the surroundings, and their ears were erect to catch any sounds that were not easily heard by the human ear. This time every year is when Qingqing sheep herding competition grounds have the most stringent security checks, Wu Yi explained to Feng Zhao in case it made him tense seeing this sort of situation for the first time. Actually, not just the competition grounds, the entire Muzhou has stricter security checks. Therefore, we have termed the day of the finals as the strictest lockdown day. If you notice the police officers or dogs have found something suspicious, make sure to avoid them immediately to prevent yourself from getting hurt. Wu Yi had just finished when Feng Zhao said, "I have the feeling that we are being watched." Cough. How is that pos? Wu Yi's sentence ended with a grunt, because he realized that a police officer was watching them. The police dog beside him had already retracted its tongue and was staring in their direction. As someone who owned a dog, Wu Yi was very clear what the dog's manner was displaying. That was a look of suspicion and alarm, and in the next moment, it would bark. Woof 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 woof. Like and subscribe.